In today's world, society began to separate women from the traditional concepts and expectations attributed to feminines alone. It was in the 19th century when the earliest feminism movement earned women the right to vote and property ownership. But what really is feminism? In an interview by 17 about feminism, an answer from one of the participants briefly yet completely elaborated the entire point of feminism.
Feminism is not trying to take from men, but just trying to raise to the same level as what men have.
Feminism is a global social movement to battle issues of equality and equity based on gender, gender expression, gender identity, sex, and sexuality as understood through social theories and political activism. Feminism has progressed over time from a critical study of gender inequalities to a more nuanced focus on the social and performative constructions of gender and sexuality. Feminism is inclusive of all genders, not just men and women. To have a better understanding of feminism and how it can be applied to literary pieces, we decided to read and analyze the short story The Sorceress Queen, where the female main character endowed boldness and fearlessness and managed to overcome the encroaching sexism that confronts her. Raisa Rivera Falgui, the author of The Sorceress Queen, is a graduate from the University of the Philippines, major in art studies. She is a former English teacher, writer, editor, and became a well-known fiction writer of children and adult books. She yielded recognition from the country's highest literary accolade, the Palanca Awards, thrice during the height of her writing career. The previous writing company she had worked for assigned her to compose short stories involving places she hasn't been to yet, one of which was Mount Malindig of Marinduque, from which the narrative, The Sorceress Queen, was proposed and then published.
The story opens when the Emperor of Mu becomes a sexagenarian and reaches the age of 60. He will be obligated by Mu traditions to handpick a worthy successor only from the other kings of Mu. Since he doesn't have a son of his own, that left the Emperor of Mu to the arrogant King Laki, the pompous fool King Manga, and his younger favored half-brother King Pangkikog, all of whom he considered unqualified to fill in his throne as an emperor when he steps down. On the emperor's 60th birthday, he declared,
"None of the possible successors has been found to be capable of sorcery. We must then renew the imperial bloodline with a sorceress as mighty as myself, to be the helpmate of the new emperor. He who can find and win a bride with such power shall be decreed my heir."
Pangkikog then remembers hearing about the riches of the kingdom of Malindig, ruled by Queen Mariam, from one of his closest and most successful merchant seamen. The Queen of Malindig was rumored to have a heart of stone. Her people always noted her to be frigid, strict, and difficult to please, which is also believed to be the reason why no man had ever dared to profess his love for the queen. Men are afraid to seek the Queen of Malindig because of her power. Consequently, she remains unmarried despite her advanced age. The kings then set sail to Queen Mariam's kingdom not to court her out of admiration and love, but rather just to win her to present as an asset to have the emperor's seat of power. Women are weak and foolish to the Emperor of Mu, which is why he challenged the three potential heirs to find a sorceress as mighty as himself to only serve as a beautiful consort, standing by the new emperor's side. As they set foot in the palace, they did not even bother to start a real conversation with the queen. Instead, they quickly began to dazzle her with their lavish endowments. A cachet of gold, ivory carvings, and a chest of silk and perfumed oils were offered by King Laki, King Manga, and King Pangkikog respectively. This reflects that they regard women as unprincipled, as they believed that they can be enticed by men's wealth. Following their banquet, Queen Mariam made a swift decision to bestow her hands to Pangkikog. The egocentric behavior of the two other kings had him drawn out from Mariam's options. Only with Pangkikog did she find a man with visions for the land and people he aspires to soon rule over. Despite this, the kings refused to accept the queen's decisiveness, insisting that their tradition requires that the true successor of the emperor must win the queen through a competition. The contest shall decide, not the woman they are pursuing, their fate and the queen's. She found the Mu's imperial edict to marry a woman he had only won by right of challenge absurd, for in her kingdom, she only does what she pleases. Still, the queen suggested a dawnship race for the prestige of her hands to give respect to Mu tradition. In the recesses of her mind, she had second thoughts and actually did not want to host the competition, because then it would imply that she is nothing more than a mere prized possession. The night before the race, she visited the king she thought was worthy of her, King Pangkikog. She even encouraged him to win the race by giving him her word that she and her kingdom could be his forever with certainty without contest. In the middle of their conversation, King Pangkikog said the one thing that made Queen Mariam feel cynical. While admiring the queen, Pangkikog uttered,
What a prize I shall bring home to the Empire of Mu, a beautiful consort to reign by my side.
King Pangkikog also mentioned how Malindig will soon join forces and be under the Empire of Mu. The already established plan of King Pangkikog for Malindig and Mu demonstrates that he is accustomed to making decisions without considering the latter party, in this case, Queen Mariam and her kingdom. He failed to confer and honor women's legal independence, embodying patriarchy. King Pangkikog has already shown dominance, superiority, and hegemonic masculinity in the short while after their encounter. However, despite his ethically dubious principle, the attention Queen Mariam received from Pangkikog blinded her to let this behavior pass. Since she thought that King Pangkikog was better than to marry either of the two other kings, she also assumed that he was her best and last shot at getting married before it was too late for her. Thus, she forgave him and eventually just settled for what was in front of her. At the dawn of the race, as she saw how the three men were eager to win her like a golden trophy, she became enraged. Upon seeing that King Pangkikog was already winning, she realized that the kings, especially Pangkikog, truly desired the royal seat alone and not her. And if she were to capitulate, she knew that she would just be used for the sole purpose of satisfying their selfish desires, to sit on the emperor's throne. Queen Mariam resisted the king's imperial power that was starting to hold her, for she refused to accept defeat and the life the kings wanted to have with her. To uphold by her might and stand to her nobleness, she proved that women are not just to be a consort but also to be the queen of their kingdom. Women are not to submit themselves to men. Queen Mariam exclaimed,
"No man shall ever possess me or my kingdom,"
while summoning all the elements that destroyed all of them together with her will. A terrain suddenly surfaced where Mariam's palace originally nestled, surrounded by 3 islands. This madness bore to a volcano now known to be the Mount Malindig.
To value more the liberation of women from internalized sexism, we must be awake to the lengthy history of oppression against all women around the world, but particularly in the Philippines, where the short story The Sorceress Queen was set. Looking back during and after colonialism in the country, there were significant changes in the world of women, especially in the role of Filipinas in national battles, colonial, political, and economic history. What sets Filipino feminism apart from its Western equivalent is that the struggle of Filipinas isn't about carving up spaces for women to occupy. It is about reclaiming a space that was forcibly taken from them. Things were very different back then. Men carry all the responsibilities of providing for their families. He must also have the authority in the house. All family decisions must be made by him and him alone, while men only rely on women when it comes to taking care of the house and looking after their children. Society imposes lighter responsibilities on women because they are believed to lack the necessary skills to shoulder the same responsibilities as males. However, this is not traditional culture, but rather the outcome of a long-standing colonizer-imposed ideology that consigned women to the home and severely restricted their social and economic positions. To be a Filipina in this condition is to be enslaved. The shackles are unseen, yet are still influencing Filipinas' lives and livelihood from the Spanish conquest to the present. Going back to the narrative, the female protagonist, Queen Mariam, epitomizes all women who daringly stood up for what they believe they have the right to, thus hindering themselves from being another victim of the emerging sexism that revolves around them. If the events in the story were to happen in this time and age, specifically objectifying women as prizes that can earn men pride and respect from the community, people would not tolerate this idea and take actions to protect femininity. Women are not to feed up men's egos anymore. Furthermore, women of today's Philippines, unlike Queen Mariam at some point in the story, have their standards set high and would not stoop down on their level for mere men. This is precisely because we have now come to realize that a woman can man up to, for she needs no man to stand up for herself. As perceived in the story, the kingdom of Malindig attested to the successful rule of a strong and independent woman. When the three foolish kings intended to take over Malindig and overpower Queen Mariam, she stood firm, fought back, and defended her kingdom and people because she believed that
the best man for the job is a woman.